Sometimes 2-2, 1-1, hit it.
I'm already live. I'm going to hope I went live just after that last comment, Andrew. Hey, happy Monday, boys and girls. We've missed you greatly.
Some of us more than others.
It's been a week. It's been a whole week. We haven't seen anyone. We haven't talked to anyone. You and I have barely texted.
No, do you know why, Tim?
No, because you're like, I'm busy.
No, Tim, it's because I've been replaced.
What are you talking about?
For years, I was your go-to.
What are you talking about?
I was your number one.
I don't know what you're saying right now.
I was your ministry confidant.
You
and
still
then,
are.
Just like that,
what are you
as Carrie Bradshaw would say, it all changed.
Is that because yesterday was Sunday?
And this
is the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Hey, we're here. It's Monday.
Tim, you can let them know.
Let them know what?
You can let them know why you don't need me anymore.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he's here, he's live, he's in person. I believe my first words to him yesterday were welcome home. Frank Gill has
said that
landed.
To me.
He's here. Frank Gill, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! I made it.
Frank, how does it feel to have left Milwaukee right before they could not count votes on Tuesday nights? And you voted in a state that you then abandoned.
I voted early, and so I think my vote count. I vote thoughtfully. I didn't like burn this place down and then left. But yeah, Wisconsin is an important state in all this conversation. But a more important conversation is the way I rolled the weather here. Because I was able to get the best weather of Wisconsin, and now I've gotten the best weather of Florida. So it's a good time.
I don't know if you're getting the best weather. I was outside today for a Veterans Day program, and it was hot. Like, I sweat through 2 shirts hot.
It's toasty. However, Frank and I went to a show last night, and we were okay. We stood for more hours than we wanted to.
I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at those pictures, and I just thought, all by myself.
Okay. Frank said, "Should we have invited Andrew?" And I said,
1,000%
Frank,
no.
I've known Andrew a very long time. I'm telling you,
1,000% no.
This is not something he would enjoy. See, I like to be in the room where it happens. Andrew likes to be on the couch.
I love the
watching
couch.
A screen that's in the room where it happens.
But when it comes to bands where it's really just like a fat dude screaming at me.
Or sports. You've told me numerous times you prefer sports at home.
It depends. It depends on the sport. I go to more Rays games than you do. I also just don't like to.
I would love to be at more. Well, neither of us are going to Rays games for now.
I don't want to talk about that.
Sorry, we drove by it last night.
I just don't like to drop, $400 or $500 to see a football game.
I mean, it's expensive.
It is expensive,
There's no question.
My TV was $400 or $500, and I get a really good view of a lot of things. So,
Andrew, there's something that we need to chat about because
we have so many things we have to talk about.
You're about to leave. I was asking Frank last night, I knew it was coming up. You've been telling me for months and months. I've just been like,
wow.
I've been burying it.
Wow.
I've been burying it. I don't listen to it.
I thought you loved me. You don't even have my flight schedule memorized.
Because I don't want it to happen.
Timmy,
I'm going to miss you greatly.
You're
going to be gone for 6 months. Frank's taking over the church for a season.
That is only partially true. I am only gone for 15 days.
Feels like longer in my heart.
And Tim, thanks for bringing it up because I just want to know. I'm doing a kind of a once in a lifetime trip.
City Lights Church says hi, Francis.
Yeah, Frank. Did you know last week we were discussing that we were going to start calling you Francis?
I did not know that.
I just think it sounds more formal. It's a senior pastor name. Frank is a youth pastor, campus pastor name. But if you want us to believe that you're actually going to be a senior pastor, I think you need to let us call you Francis.
So this is like I want to share this story because not many people know about this. My father's name was Francisco.
Okay.
And my father had 2 kids in Cuba before he met my mom here in the States. And he had a son in Cuba. He named him Francisco. He had another son named Osvaldito. That's the most Cuban name you'll ever hear.
I don't even know what that is.
I think it's like Spanish for Oswald. But anyways, he came to America, met my mom, and they got pregnant with me. And when my mom's like, well, what do you want to name him? He said Francisco. And so he wanted to name 2 kids after himself. My mom's like,
George Foreman.
yeah, no, you sociopath. You don't name your kids after you, all your kids, right? So they compromised and called me Frank. So my name's not Francisco or Franklin or Francis. It's Frank.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi, Francis. There you have it right there. His official name is, in fact, Francis. So from now on, that's what he'll forever be known as.
So I'm going on this trip.
You are. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
You've been planning it for
years.
For days.
About 700 days.
True.
I'm going to spend some time at a seminary in Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm going to hopefully go skinny dipping in the fairy pools just to send Frank pictures.
Is that allowed over there?
Yeah.
That's inappropriate.
I mean, I don't think they don't want you to do it in front of a tour bus, but
you would.
I mean, you saw what William Wallace did with his kilt.
I mean, his entire front line did.
Yeah. So they have different laws there in Scotland. Tim, here's the question that I have been pondering.
Bolts of lightning.
I've been a bit more reserved in my social media postings. You know, I used to be the guy that posted 3 or 4 times a day. There was always something going on.
CJ says, "Hey, it's Franklin. Coming over to play."
Tim, how much should I post on this trip? Do I go full on?
Older.
I don't know what that is, because I was going to say, every now and then you need the reminder that we are like a half generation away from each other, and that I am 5 years older than you. I also didn't have cable till I was in high school. I don't know if that makes a difference. But
Andrew was already paying taxes and like it's given to his pension when the Devil Wears Prada came out. We were very much in high school, still like picking our noses when the band came out.
I was probably already engaged to my wife when we saw the movie The Devil Wears Prada that the band is named after.
The real question from Laura here is, what exactly is a fairy pool?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked.
We all have questions about this.
It is a pool on the Isle of Skye that is fed by some waterfalls at the base of a mountain that is said to be the birthplace of fairies, where the magic of the Isle of Skye comes from. And I am literally renting a car in Scotland instead of just depending on public transportation, because none of the tours that go to the Isle of Skye from Inverness, where I'm staying for the first weekend that I'm there, will take you out to the fairy pools, because it's November and the sun sets at 4 p.m. So if I was there in October, not a problem, take the public transportation, ride the tour bus. But no, I am renting a car so that I can drive to these majestic pools. And
it sounds glorious.
I'm going to swim in 40-degree water.
Ross wants to know a little bit more about our concert goings. Here's the deal, Ross. Frank and I, we've been fans of the same genre of music for a very long time. If you saw the silly reel that Frank and I posted last night, we did go to a Devil Wears Prada show, which former Christian metalcore band, still in the metalcore genre. So metalcore's been a part of our lives for a long, long time. Ross needs to know if we
dying
moshed.
On the inside a little bit right now.
If we moshed. Ross, here's the deal.
I thought you guys were my intellectual equals.
Ross.
And then I hear stuff like, this is like all of those liberal women blaming non-college educated people for the election.
Stop it.
Stop it. This is my equivalent of that of, I guess I am surrounded by idiots. But it's just when it comes to taste in music.
Ross, here's the deal. At one point, they asked the crowd to split the room, and Frank, I guess, heard the instructions. I did not. So I was left standing in the middle with 2 armies on each side, getting ready to, if you guys know what happens at these shows, they collide and fun things happen. I looked over, it was about to happen. Frank's just staring at me like, oh, you're just going to be in the middle of the pit now. And I was like, nope. So I just slowly scooted to the edge, because I'm a 37-year-old man who probably shouldn't be in the mosh pit anymore. Frank.
Yeah, I feel like we spent a good amount of time behind a 7-foot tall security guard.
He was massive.
This is the most massive person I've ever seen in my life.
Like a full foot taller than Frank.
He's like a professional wrestler size human. Yeah. There was another band called Silent Planet, which we found out there that it was named after C.S. Lewis.
Yes, the Wall of Death, Ross. That is
so that was amazing. Obviously, all these Christian bands have deconstructed. So
clearly.
There was a lot of cursing from these bands that I thought like.
Did you guys feel superior to everybody that was in the room because you were the only ones whose first marriages were still intact?
There was some inappropriate language. I did wear my Lakeview shirt, which generated a few conversations.
And there was a guy who said, "I love this band. I never see my wife. I never see my kids.
Yeah.
I never see my family." And me and Tim were like, I don't think this is a good thing. Like this is
like
not
he's the front man, like talking about how he never sees his family because he's always on the road touring with his band. I'm like, that's not like I wouldn't brag about that.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good show. Nothing's changed in the last 20 years of the scene.
It's the same.
It's the same kind of people. We smelled like I got like a contact high from all the plumes of people smoking weed.
Ugh, so
which is not legal in the state of Florida.
Yeah,
just barely.
Even though
just barely.
The state voted yes, but it didn't pass somehow. It was, regardless of all that, one of the most fun shows I've ever been to.
It was so much fun.
It was very nostalgic, and Tim and I were on the edge of the pit the entire time.
I want you guys to know that while you guys were doing that, I was grading papers for about 5 or 6 hours last night.
Ross says we absolutely
I
have
felt
to
very
take
accomplished.
Andrew. So Andrew, you're going to the next one. We're going to see Under Oath in December.
Hard pass.
I thought you liked Under Oath.
No.
You were a big fan.
No.
You and Melissa. We're gonna double date. We're gonna take our wives. Ross, if you're in town, we're going to the Under Oath show. They're doing their Only Chasing Safety cover to cover. You should come hang out, buddy. You can also bring your entire family. City Light says, oh, dude, so here's the deal. He says, you guys ever like Becoming the Archetype? I saw Becoming the Archetype live in their infancy. It was their very first year as a band. They had just been signed. They were on Solid State, I believe. They had just gotten signed. Tiny venue in Jacksonville, and they put on an unbelievable show. Frank has probably also seen Becoming the Archetype.
I know Andrew is like disengaging in this conversation. So, and to bring you in, on the drive up from Wisconsin, I listened to the entire Hamilton soundtrack, and it was delightful. You know what I'm saying? So I know you would appreciate that.
I do. I am... That is more my speed, but again, when I'm on road trips, it's Delilah.
You can't Delilah the entire trip. I thought you guys do audiobooks.
I audiobook. If everybody else in the car is asleep, I will audiobook. But Tim, I need answers on this. How much should I be posting on this trip?
We all know you're going. If you don't post, I'll be upset.
Okay.
We all know, and you could even do there's going to be some spam happening. You don't have to create a separate account. My daughter has created a separate spam account because she knows she doesn't want to just kill her account with stuff. So she has like 10 followers for her spam account, and I'm one of them. So we get to see all of her shenanigans.
Okay.
I don't think you need to go that level, but the people need to know. Do
I start posting on my TikTok? Hey guys, so glad that you're joining me here on this trip.
I would like that. I would like and subscribe.
Well, I don't want to be obnoxious, but
why would that be obnoxious? How often are you making
I did book a room with a castle right outside my window, so that's
what I'm saying.
An exciting thing. And I have, a Michelin-rated restaurant that I'm eating at on Thursday night, so I've got priorities.
How would you feel? How would your congregation feel? Well, first off, how much of your congregation is following you on Instagram?
I would say maybe 20 total people.
Okay. Would your congregation be weird if you're posting consecutive days of you just enjoying your sabbatical?
No. I think yesterday was Sunday. That's right. We had our big annual dinner of thanks, and there were multiple comments. But we're so glad that Pastor Andrew is leaving for the season or is taking this time of rest to do his sabbatical. So the congregation, everybody is aware of what's happening, and everybody is like on board and excited that it is happening.
The post, as long as people don't feel weird about you.
I'm not going to be eating caviar and throwing $1,000 bills in the air, but
$1,000 bills.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will be drinking coffee at beautiful spots.
I feel like people are going to want to see it. We have to live vicariously through you at some point, and this is your chance to do that. We don't get to do it often.
Well, it's gonna. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I mean, technically, I'm on sabbatical now.
As in this week.
As in this week, and then but I've got some podcast recording today. I'm doing Great American Teach-In on Wednesday before my flight. So.
And your flight is?
My flight is 10:30 p.m. Wednesday night.
So will you take a snooze?
Yeah. So I did not cancel youth group because we're doing our shoeboxes, which will then be dropped off to Lakeview later on in the week.
Appreciate that.
And so we're doing the youth group shopping trip.
Sure. For
Wednesday night, and I'm taking my suitcase to the airport in between Great American Teach-In and youth group so that I can just walk through security because yo boys got pre-check.
Frank and I will be hopping on an airplane at 7:30 tomorrow morning.
In the morning?
In the a.m. We're flying out west. We're flying out to Phoenix, Arizona. We're hitting up a church planters conference out there.
Let me ask you a real random question. Have you ever been personally bullied by one of the presenters at this conference?
I mean, I don't. That's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know.
Have you ever been virtually bullied by one of the presenters at this conference?
I have nothing but good relationships with everybody at this conference. Other people might not have, but I have.
No comment. I think we're gonna have an absolute blast.
I hope so.
We're no secret. We're kind of courting this particular organization to see if it's a good fit, a good alignment for the future church plants of Lakeview Church. It's the same guys that we interviewed for the Practically Pastoring podcast.
Practically Pastoring. Did you know that those guys are hosting a conference?
That's what I was getting at. It's coming February in Florida. Where else would you want to be? You could hang out with all of us, and here's my guarantee to you: if there is a metalcore show, one of those nights, there's a possibility. There is a possibility that I will make sure we get there. So,
and since most of those bands will just play for pizza at this point,
that's very true.
They might as well just come to Lakeview Church.
We could have them at Lakeview.
I mean, it would be a bigger and nicer venue than they probably play in most of the time.
There's a guy from the concert last night who might show up at Lakeview because
it's true.
He was wearing his Lakeview shirt and he was asking questions.
You know, it's wonderful the different ways that different churches engage their culture.
Sure.
We had a new couple at church yesterday, and it's a story that we get from every now and then, but they actually were walking by, sat down, and stayed the whole time. They were coming to the farmer's market, walking their dog, and saw people sitting outside and said, oh.
And they just
stayed for the whole service.
They felt awkward at that point. They didn't want to leave.
I guess so. They thought it was the waiting room for community yoga, and they just joined right up. It was awesome.
I mean, when you got to the gospel presentation, with every head bowed, every eye closed, was there a hand raised in the back?
Their dog.
Was there a paw raised?
Yes, their dog was intrigued but not ready yet. He wanted me to pray with him, but wasn't ready to make any commitments quite yet, which is fine. I get that. That's the thing about sanctification. It is a process.
All right, so Andrew, you're skipping town. You've asked Frank to take over the church.
Frank is preaching for 2 weeks while I'm gone.
You said, Frank, can you lead staff meetings? Can you preach? Can you meet with my elders? I think this is a dangerous
He's going to do some hospital visits.
I don't know if you realize what you're asking, but Frank, I think our question for you is, what should the people of Safety Harbor Community Church expect over the next 2 weeks? I mean, do you have the sermons ready to go? Are you in the midst of sermon writing?
I really hope so, because one of those 2 weeks, our worship team is also gone, and Jamie Height is leading. So we've got kind of our worship team is gone, and our main tech people are also not here because it's the week before Thanksgiving. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be some PowerPoint slides ready to go.
Why would you do that to him?
My thing was on the schedule before any of theirs. I have had flights booked since May, so.
Yeah. If I were Frank, I'd probably rehash something I've preached before. Make it awesome.
That was what I said. Don't you dare write anything new.
Honestly, there's no sense in that. So Frank, what should the people of Safety Harbor be expecting over the next couple of weeks?
Safety Harbor should expect
actual standing preaching.
Standing preaching. So the way Charles Spurgeon and Luther wanted it to be.
Not Jesus.
I will be preaching. We did a series at Epicos where we took a closer look at popular verses that our congregation loved. And I did 2 of those messages. And we're going to be preaching on 2 very popular passages. And what's good about these 2 passages, they're very personal. So they tie to my testimony, a lot of personal stories. So at the end of the day, people will laugh. They'll be hear a passage that they've probably haven't looked too deeply into recently, and walk away encouraged.
So what you're saying is you're trying to poach my people for your church plant?
Absolutely not. That's not what I'm doing.
That's what I'm hearing.
Also, Safety Harbor
might happen.
Safety Harbor is pretty far from probably where we're going to be planting.
And Safety Harbor is a weird bunch, just in general. We are granola people around here in Safety Harbor.
Safety Harbor. It's cool.
It's a magical place. It is a great spot.
I had coffee over at a coffee shop, and this is a happening place. Everyone was young. Yeah. Everyone was cool. The babies were cool. The people who had babies, they were dressed really cool babies. The coffee was good. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It was good. It was good.
It was. It's the second tier coffee shop in Safety Harbor. The premier one is closed on Mondays. So you know.
This is just above Not a little bit more above church coffee. Does that make sense?
Well, it is kind of church coffee, so I get that.
I get it. Well, Frank, we're stoked for you. Safety Harbor is thrilled to have a real pastor for a couple of weeks, so that'll be fun.
Ow.
Kidding.
Just rude.
Andrew's a great pastor.
Mean.
He's taking his sabbatical because he so desperately needs it. He's worn out. He's exhausted. Honestly, you should be taking a sabbatical well before you get to that.
I was
point.
Gonna say I hear of people
if
like,
you're exhausted and then you take a sabbatical.
I hear people that are like, I need to get to this point. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's allowed at this point. The denomination encourages it.
Sure.
And we've got the coverage, and your boy's got some credit card points that he's cashing in. So
you're gonna walk me through everything because
we're going big.
My sabbatical is incoming at some point in the next 2 years, so I have to decide.
I was texting with your wife, which is kind of the joke that we had at the beginning, and she was asking if I was trying to make her hate me based on this trip, and I said I tried so hard to get Tim to come with me so that the two wives could come over together. But maybe
November in the middle of the school
I know.
year?
I realize
that's
that.
a weird time.
But none of the seminaries over there have any summer programs because
Dylan's upset because Frank's replaced the Dylan camp. Dylan, we're sorry. He's wondering how our knees are. Look, the knees were hurting last night. I'm not even gonna lie.
Frank was.
Dylan,
we're painting.
give Frank a piggyback ride.
We're painting the whole church right now, so there's like Dexter style.
I'm a Christian.
Plastic.
I don't know what that means.
I've never actually seen the show, but Tim's told me great things. It's got the plastic stuff all over the windows, including the doors, and so they had to come in through the worship center doors, Dylan, and so they were both climbing up the steps this morning, and they're like, oh. Ooh, that's my impression of both of them trying to get up the steps.
Look, between the
it's not often that I am the fit person in the room. It's a good day for me. It is a good day for me.
From standing after preaching 3 services to standing for 4.5 to 5 hours last night into a leg day this morning. That was a lot in a 24-hour window. It was a lot. Feeling it, but feeling good.
I ate a lot yesterday.
I did not. I am starving.
We did our giant dinner of thanks.
Oh, the pictures were awesome.
Tim,
those were great. The food looked insane. It looks so good.
I made some stuffing. I made 2 trays.
Dylan, of course, yes. Frank's coming to Under Oath. His wife is coming. My wife is coming. Which show are you going to, Dylan? Let us know.
I am not coming to Under Oath. I can make that promise. But
right, a big spread.
We eat well every Sunday, but dinner of thanks is once a year. It started way before I got here.
Early this year because you're gone?
We did it early because of me being gone. So typically it would be next week.
The church really does revolve around you.
And this is a big Sunday, Tim. It is a big Sunday. I didn't want to miss the food, and we had a lot of people traveling.
Food and City Lights. You're right. You never skip leg day. Dylan's going to the 14th. Frank, can you check that date and see if the 14th is the one that we're shooting for or not as well? Look, food is a good thing. My dad, who is out of the country right now, is worshiping online with us, and he asked me after church. He said, "Hey, live stream looked a little bit full. Was do you think extra people came out because of the food?" In which I said, yes. People come from, yeah.
Of course they did.
We have actually seriously talked about offering food at the 8 o'clock service to get some of our 9:30 because
that's 9:30. Great idea.
I had to scold the 9:30 yesterday because it was near standing room only. We were at max capacity, and yet we had plenty of chairs at the 8.
So what would you do? Would you do like hey, we're gonna have bagels and coffee, bring them to your seat?
But it's only for the 8 a.m. Mm-hmm.
Only for 8 a.m. I think that's a good idea.
We need to do something. We have no more room at the 9:30. We have a little bit at the 11, but we have plenty of room at the 8. So we need to get a few humans. Sorry, Dylan. The 14th is a Saturday, and remember, we work on Sundays. So
it's like Dylan used to work at a church, but now he's a Christian school teacher. So it's ministry. It's just a different kind of ministry.
City Lights, you mentioned never skip leg day. You know what I would say? Never skip a church day. And if you're looking for a good church in the Scranton, PA area,
I would go to City Lights Church.
Power's always on.
Where else would you go? It's evangelical and liturgical at the same time.
So you get your liturgical
Here's the thing. They will skip Church of John Legends in town.
Well,
big John Legend fans.
Who wouldn't? I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I get it.
Never skip leg day unless you're a City Lights Church, and you can skip church because of John Legend. But also, every Sunday, outside of John Legend Sundays, they are having service.
Do you think they call them John Legend Sundays?
Up in Scranton, PA, they might. I don't know. Well, I think
it's a really good name for those Sundays. Timmy, you guys are in like budget seasons are very different between our churches.
Which is weird to me. Why would your fiscal year not be the
our
calendar year?
fiscal year?
I don't get
because our church started with like a 2-week notice, like, hey, you need to be a new church by this date, kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
When we left our previous denomination,
I get that.
I say we. I was
switched at any point.
I wasn't here yet.
Sure.
But so because our church was established in March, our fiscal stuff goes to March, but it's weird. Like the budgeting.
So you actually start the budget process in January,
which is kind of, in
finalize
some
it in
ways, is
March.
kind of nice.
Yeah.
Because then you know what you have in the bank
do.
from November and December, and you're not just speculating.
Right. And you do speculate because November to December is typically
those are bigger months.
They're
Yeah.
bumps.
So that part works out well. But you guys are full on in budget mode, and we're like, that's coming.
We're in full on
After
budget mode.
Christmas.
We had our final budget team meeting on Saturday. So I've been a part of the budget team process now for many, many years.
It's been a while.
So I've watched multiple treasurers do it in a variety of different ways. I've seen the pros and the cons. I would say our current team is awesome. They just have a good system in place. It's a replicating system. It's one that can be passed on to each treasurer now.
That's nice.
Hasn't been done in
So
the
that
past.
each one doesn't have to have their own spreadsheet and their own line items.
Exactly. So we finalized. So the process is the budget team meeting meets for several months. We get together with every ministry team leader to make sure we know where they're at, and we ask our lead deacon to do this. So he makes sure every ministry team knows, like, here's the budget, we need to know your numbers, and then we have to approve or disapprove, and we usually come somewhere in the middle of what they're requesting. Outside of student ministry, I pushed hard to get them a bigger number, and we are absolutely getting student ministry a bump this year, which is awesome because I love student ministry.
Big fan of student ministry getting bumps.
Heck yeah. So we had our final budget team meeting on Saturday morning. So now that the budget is finalized, the process is it'll then go to the elders at the next elder meeting, which is a week from Wednesday. The elders will finalize it, and then it will go before the congregation because, as you know, congregational polity.
I say, but does the congregation vote, or does the
Yes.
See, our congregation does not approve the budget. Our
Ours could shut it down.
Our congregation votes on the elders, but the elders are the ones who approve the budget. So our budget has to be presented to the congregation,
Sure.
but the congregation does not vote on the budget.
So not only does the congregation vote on the budget, they are required to see the budget at least 2 weeks out, so that way they can have all of their questions answered before it comes time to vote on the budget.
Do you say, you've got Q's, we've got A's?
That's exactly what I say. We used to say, bring your questions to the meeting, but that didn't work out well. We found that if we ask people to get their questions to us before said meeting, we have time to have some face-to-face, have some conversations, and clarify anything.
And to take out the kneecaps of anybody who's going to be a little bit too squeaky of a wheel?
Sure. We have a very open budget, meaning you can see every line item as a member of Lakeview Church. So you're going to be able to see exactly how much Frank is going to make.
Isn't that a little bit weird, though? Like,
sure. It's so awkward for me.
So the church that I was at previously was here is the lump sum of all of the staff salaries and benefits,
right? And everyone's like, I wonder how much of that's the pastor's.
Well, yeah. But so everybody kind of knew but didn't really know.
Yep.
And then they're like looking and they're like just dividing by how many staff members, like, oh, everybody's doing pretty good. Not realizing that half of that was the senior pastor's salary. I was not the senior pastor there. I think it's an interesting thing to really let everybody know everything that's going on.
It's kind of odd. I like it. There's an accountability there, so we know what we should and shouldn't be doing. Our elders have done a great job researching and pulling in the stats to give adequate bumps to the staff. So I'm super thankful for the work that they did. I help out when it comes to staff salaries, but not myself, obviously. So that the elders come up with mine.
They kick you out of the room for that one?
Executive session, I believe, is
they kick you out of the room.
What it's called. I get kicked out of the room.
Hey, let us talk about you behind your back.
Is that a weird feeling? I mean, you just know. You just know.
Ish, it's part of it. Here's the thing.
Yep.
I hope that I'm not going to get anybody in trouble by saying this, but I can't imagine that there would ever be a group of elders that kick you out of the room and be like, hey, let's decrease his salary this year. That's probably not a thing.
Never know.
If your salary is going to be decreased, you see that coming because you know that budgets are tight, or it's hey, take the decrease, or we're going to have to close the doors kind of thing. I can't imagine the elders kicking you out of the room to talk about your salary is ever going to mean that you're coming back into the room and making less money.
I mean, I would hope not, but I think you're right. I think if you can see the writing on the walls, you would know that, hey, as a staff, we might need to take a hit here to keep things rolling.
Or, hey, we're not getting raises this year. But in general, if you're kicked out of the room, you're probably doing well.
Probably doing okay. So we tied the budget meeting into our annual meeting, which I think you guys do as well. We do one big annual meeting every December, and it's kind of a look back on, hey, here's what God's done at Lakeview over the last year. Then we do a look forward at, hey, here's what we're praying for.
It's kind of what our Thanksgiving dinner is. We are.
Do you do ministry highlights?
We do like everyone's highlights. We go around the table. Hey, what have you?
Oh, that's cool.
What personal?
Yeah.
And we're about a fifth the size of you guys. So if there's 100 people in the room, it's a little bit easier to have the 15 or 20 people that want to talk have something to say. If you have 45 or 70 people that want to talk, that's not a meeting anybody wants to be in.
We've got a stats guy in the church who loves stats, figures, charts, graphs. So he does this for us every year. He puts together the charts and the graphs for attendance and home group participation and baptisms, like all of those specific numbers that some people love to see. We're able to chart those out and make them look pretty on the screen. So it's fun. He does the same thing with our budget, kind of see, here's where it is, here's where it's gone. Thank you. Here's how much you've given. So we're going to be able to increase the budget. And for sure, this year's budget is the highest we've ever had at Lakeview.
Well, so is attendance. That's how that goes typically.
Yes, that's true. It's weird. Someone who's been on staff for 15 years, like to see the number right now, it's a little stomach churning.
So when you're talking about 15 years ago was, hang on, math, 2009? I bought...
At this time, 15 years ago, I was interviewing to come on.
I bought a house in 2007 in Dallas for... $124,000. That is now a $450,000 house, probably.
You are so rich.
Well, I sold that house for barely more than I paid for it.
So you're not Scrooge McDuck?
No, because then 2008 happened. So what I'm saying is 2009 was a very different time than it is now.
It was.
And I think sometimes we think in terms of when we came of age, and hey, here's the salary that's the big boy salary. Well, things have changed.
I know. You're right.
And so even if Lakeview was the same size that it was 15 years ago, which it was not, it was significantly smaller than it is now.
Indeed.
Your budget should be 3% a year increased at least times 15 years. That's almost double the budget right there.
True.
So
no, you're not wrong.
You're fine. You're doing
so
good
wise.
things.
Is this why they call you doctor?
That's not why, but
it helps.
It does.
See, what am I going to do for 15 days with you not here to give me this information?
Here's some things I want you to think about, Tim. When you call yourself doctor, when you get to be Dr.
Your level,
Larson,
really.
You change everything on all of your hotel points and all of your airline statuses just for those extra upgrades. They think that you're, an anesthesiologist when really you're like, hey, would you like me to talk to you about cultural engagement? And then they're very mad at themselves. But Frank was sitting right over here when I got my email from Virgin Airlines saying that I had been upgraded on my flight over.
Just because?
No, because I bid on it. But they consider multiple things.
Including
the fact that my name is Dr. Andrew Larson in my Flying Red Club.
I don't know, Frank, how does that make you feel?
I feel like I could put doctor on my documents. Who's going to stop me?
Nobody.
Exactly. So I'm going to start doing that.
You should. You absolutely should. And
I have a doctorate in Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
Lots of study, lots of research, lots of attendance.
Do you know what? You might have spent more time doing Devil Wears Prada things than I did earning my doctorate. I'm just saying, if it was just about time and interest, I would have a doctorate in a whole lot of things that are completely useless. But I do have one that's fairly useful, at least, to do some things.
Well, we're proud of you. We're going to miss you greatly. So here's what the next few weeks are going to look like. We're going to attempt.
We're going to do this.
We're going to do our best. Frank and I will probably be at a table together for the morning after.
I love it.
Possibly at Lakeview. What we'll do is
I'll be calling in.
We'll pipe in Larson from his gallivanting around the globe.
I will not be gallivanting at that point. I will have recently checked into
the Ferry Lagoon.
No, not the Ferry Lagoon. It was a ferry pool. First of all, if there are nude women, I will not be there. Tim.
You're the one that said everybody's naked.
No, I said I wanted to.
You wanted what?
I'm saying I am jumping into a ferry pool.
You realize how that sounds?
Not in Trump's America, you will be.
It will not be in Trump's America. It'll be in whoever's in charge of Scotland's
Andrew will
Isle
be
of Skye.
fully clothed.
I will be fully clothed.
Thank you.
I might be wearing a fluffy towel. Not a fluffy. I'm sorry, a fluffy bathrobe. I know how you feel about fluffy bathrobes in fancy hotels. It's Tim's favorite thing in the world.
So are fluffy towels.
I will not be wearing a fluffy towel. I might be wearing a fluffy bathrobe. We'll see.
Oh, you're not going to want to miss next week. That's what
I'm just saying that part of the reason that I booked the hotel room that I booked was so that the view from the room could be the background for my talking heads in the morning after and practically pastoring that are being recorded on Monday.
I'm so excited.
And it'll be 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. for you guys. And it'll be
the following Monday. Is that a travel day for you?
The following Monday, I will be at Disneyland Paris with my wife.
So that'll be why don't you call in for like 30 seconds?
I will give you 30 seconds.
With the castle behind you.
I don't know where.
Is it Belle's?
No, is it?
Whose castle is it?
It's Aurora's castle at Disneyland Paris. It's Aurora's castle. I might be at the Disney Studios park that part of the day. We're going back and forth. We got the park hopper. It turns out that and
this is part of your sabbatical?
Yes.
Cool. Got it.
As Disney people, Disney World is expensive.
It's so expensive.
Disneyland, not so much. Yeah. Disneyland is plus everything's in euros, which are worth trash at this point.
Wow.
And so
you heard that, Europe.
I'm just saying the British pound is doing just fine. Euros, not so much.
Do not pass go. Go straight to jail.
So yes, I will be. I'll check in for a few minutes from Disneyland.
Okay, good.
It'll be great.
All right.
You'll love it.
The next 2 Mondays, Frank and I will be taking over while Frank is taking over Safety Harbor Community Church. Any last words, Frankie?
I will be changing the bylaws of Safety Harbor Community Church.
First of all, you need...
It's a 90-day notice.
It's a 90-day notice, and you have to have like 3 weeks of announcements before any meeting in general. So we're fine.
Hopefully you already started that process, Frank. Otherwise, there will be no bylaws changes.
You can't have an annual meeting unless you announced it yesterday that you're having an annual meeting.
Now, he could potentially preach standing up, and I don't know what that's going to do for your people.
I think they'll be fine.
There could be lives changed. There could be salvations. There could be spontaneous baptisms.
I know when Frank was preaching at Lakeview for the first time, he made some jokes about Tim, so I was trying to prepare them that...
It's going to happen.
You know,
I'm just telling you,
he's a great guy. You're going to love him.
I told Frank yesterday, I still have a member of the church who every time he emails me, it always starts with, "Hey, Pastor Lego," because Frank called me a Lego figure.
Well,
so get ready. You might have your name forever changed.
I told the church that Frank feels the way about red plaid that I feel about blue plaid.
That's true.
So, and when I said that because I had in the slides, I was looking for pictures of Frank to show the people, and in every picture that Frank has on a public profile, he's got a red plaid preaching shirt on.
It's his battle red.
It is, and so I figured I would let them know that he and I are basically the same thing. He's a former college football player who is Cuban, and I'm this. So we're
identical.
They're
not going to tell him.
They're going to be very confused. We're like, "Andrew, I thought you were on sabbatical."
He'll have to remind them that it's not
No. I'm actually not Andrew. It'll be
Boys
great.
and girls, we miss you. Pray for Andrew. He's going to be on an airplane. Frank and I will be too, but he's flying much further away.
I am. And I'm going someplace cold. You guys are going to another place hot.
Have you sent me your life insurance information just in case?
I haven't. Maybe I should.
Okay.
Maybe I should.
All right.
It's Ladder. I think I might get a referral code. Maybe we should do that for the show. Sure. Hey, if you're looking for life insurance, check out Ladder. It bills my credit card every month, and my wife gets a lot of money if I die.
I mean, I'm assuming that if you both go, that I would be next in line.
I think the kids get it.
Until they turn 18.
Well, I mean, one of them's 14 and a half.
That's
so
crazy. Hey, get out of here. We got lunch to eat. Andrew's got airplanes to hop on.
Also, speaking of referral ads, did you know that it's $6.99 burger Monday every Monday at Applebee's?
Stop. I'm hungry. Let's go. All right.
Bye, all. Carry on.
Already. Are we still on?
I think we are. Did you not end the show?
I guess I didn't end the show. All right, fine. This time it's for real. It's over.
And cut.
See ya.